So what happens to your assets when you die? That's a good question. Did you know that over half of Canadians still do not have a current will? The first thing I would encourage you to do is get that will updated. It is so important that you have an updated will. In my opinion, it should be done by a proper lawyer. Not only should you have a will, but I would encourage you to have a will, a power of attorney, and personal directives all done at the same time. That ultimately will tell us what should happen to your assets when you die. So let's assume you do have a will. That'll tell us what happens to the bulk of your estate. But there are cases where you may not want some of your assets flowing through your estate, such as RSPs or RIFs. We can have those sent directly to a beneficiary via the account opening. So we can will those accounts to a spouse or a loved one, and it doesn't have to go through the estate itself. Each asset that you currently own will be taxed differently. For example, RSPs are taxed significantly different at death than a non-registered account. So sometimes you want to be very careful when you're splitting up an estate. Some is going to one child and some is going to another child. Another example of this is tax-free savings accounts. When you die, those assets can be sent directly to a beneficiary with no tax. So again, it's critical that you understand that each asset will be taxed a little bit differently, and I would encourage you to talk to your tax provider or your financial advisor on that matter. Another option that you need to consider is spousal rollovers. One of the cool things living in Canada is all of my assets on my death can move over to my spouse with essentially little to no tax. Again, check with your advisor on those matters. Some other things to consider is you may have insurance proceeds, where we run into scenarios where maybe one child is receiving insurance proceeds at death and the other child is receiving investments or a business. We want to be very, very careful that you understand the tax ramifications because, again, insurance proceeds in Canada, for the most part, are essentially tax-free. So you want to make sure that on your death that you're equalizing your estate, if that's your wishes, and you understand that each investment is taxed slightly differently. Thank you. For more information, I invite you to check us out on LinkedIn. Send us your questions because every question is a great question.